Milk Minute.
Good day, learners. This is teacher James Oliero. So why is it really important for us to learn about the competency of comparing and contrasting the different processes in plants and animals, particularly the process of reproduction and development? I'm going to explain this one by using four simple words. Life is not simple. It is comprised of different processes, complex and complicated ones. By learning the process of reproduction and development, we also learn that things that really do matter in life takes time to be reproduced and developed. And everything around us possessing life is indeed precious. After all, from the basic foundations of biology states that it deals and studies with life itself.
Senior High School on Air.
Senior High School on Air. The front line of quality and excellent learning.
Excellent learning. You have all the best of the best.
Best of the best of the best.
Madaling umaga, handa na ba kayong matuto?
Handa na po.
Reading and writing.
Pagbasa at pagsusuri ng teksto tungo sa pananaliksik.
Practical research 1.
English for academic and professional purposes.
Ability and statistics.
General biology 2.
Disciplines and ideas in applied social sciences.
Cookery and more.
Senior High School, best of the best.
Best of the best of the best.
Good morning, students from SDO Isabela, and to our valued listeners. Welcome to our General Biology 2 class. We are now in our fourth quarter, and I'm grateful we've come this far. I'm Teacher Catherine, your radio teacher.
Wow.
Dear students, let me ask you a question. Why do plants and animals multiply? And that is exactly our topic for today. Plants and animals' reproduction and development. Before we proceed, kindly find a quiet place where you can clearly hear the topics. Sit properly, prepare your learning activity sheets, your paper and pen, and be attentive. Last quarter, you've learned about DNA, theories of evolution, classification of living things, plant and animal organ systems and their functions and feedback mechanisms. Before we start the lesson, let us have first a pre-test to test your prior knowledge about our topic. Choose the letter of the correct answer. Write the chosen letter on your paper. Number 1. It is the process by which organism goes through a series of changes. A. Development. B. Changes. C. Growth. D. Progress. Number 2. How many processes do developmental changes of an organism undergo? A. 4. B. 3. C. 2. D. 1. Number 3. Is it correct that organisms progress from an embryo to mature adulthood? A. No. B. Maybe. C. Yes. D. None of the above. Number 4. It says the developmental fate of a cell. A. Determination. B. Differentiation. C. Morphogenesis. D. Growth. Number 5. It is the process by which different types of cells arise from less specialized eggs, leading to cells with specific structures and functions. A. Determination. B. Differentiation. C. Morphogenesis. D. Growth. Now, let us check your pre-test. Number 1. The answer is letter A. Development. Number 2. The answer is letter A. For developmental changes. Number 3. The answer is letter C. Yes. Organisms progresses from an embryo to mature adulthood. Number 4. The answer is letter A. Determination. Number 5. The answer is letter B. Differentiation. Number 6. The answer is letter C. Morphogenesis. Number 7. The correct answer is letter D. Growth. Increase in size of body and organs. Number 8. The answer is letter A. Origin of form. Number 9. The answer is letter B. Apoptosis. Number 10. The answer is letter A. No. What a great job, my dear students! To acquire more knowledge about plant and animal reproduction and development, please prepare yourself while listening to this infomercial.
Wow! Magic lamp! Kiskisin ko nga, baka may lumabas na genie.
Maligayang araw! Ako ang iyong genie na bibigyan ka ng 3 kahilingan. Ano-ano ang mga ito?
Una, gusto ko ng cellphone, yung touchscreen. Pangalawa, gusto ko ng laptop para sa pagbubukas ng klase. Kailangan daw kasi yun eh. At pangatlo, Wi-Fi para sa online class namin.
Bata, hindi totoong kakailanganin ng cellphone, laptop at wifi sa pagbubukas ng klase. Modules ang gagamitin ninyo. Mabuti nang mayroon kang mastong kaalaman tungkol sa mga bagay na ito. O heto, ballpen, papel at notebook upang maging karagdagang gamit mo sa pag-aaral.
Ah, ganun po ba?
Alamin ang mga dapat ihanda sa pagbubukas ng klase. Ang mga fake news ay ating isang tabi. Isang paalala mula sa DepEd at ng himpilang ito.
Once again, I'm Teacher Catherine, your RBI teacher, ready to teach and guide you on our topic. At the end of our episode, you will be able to know how to compare and contrast the following processes in plants and animals, reproduction and development. Okay, before we go deeper, let us have our activity 1 entitled Concept Mapping. If you hear the words reproduction and development, what are the words that come into your mind associated to them? Write them on your notebook. Okay, bravo! I hear the words growth, changes, progress, multiply, produce, and develop. Correct! For your next task, kindly differentiate asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction basing from your prior knowledge. Write your answer on your notebook. Let's see whether you've answered correctly. Listen as I am going to give hints. Sexual reproduction involves the fusion of male and female gametes, whereas asexual reproduction does not require male and female individuals and no fusion of gametes takes place. That's it. Later, we will discuss it extensively. At this juncture, let us now see the meaning of reproduction and development. According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, reproduction means duplicate, copy, replica. That implies exact or close imitation of an existing thing, while development pertains to act, process, or result of developing. According to biology development, it is the process by which a multicellular organism, beginning with a single cell, goes through a series of changes, taking on the successive forms that characterize its life cycle. Don't you know that animal and plant reproduction have 4 key processes underlying development? The developmental changes an organism undergoes as it progresses from an embryo to mature adulthood involve 4 processes. First is determination. Determination sets the developmental fate of a cell. What type of cell will it become? Even before any characteristics of that cell type are observable. For example, in a developing mammalian embryo, as well as in some adult organs, there are mesenchymal stem cells that look unspecialized, but they are fated to become muscle, fat, tendon, or other connective tissue cells has already been determined. Second is differentiation. Differentiation is the process by which different types of cells arise from less specialized cells, leading to cells with specific structures and functions. For example, mesenchymal stem cells differentiate to become the cells listed above. Third, morphogenesis is the organization and spatial distribution of differentiated cells into the multicellular body and its organs. Morphogenesis can occur by cell division, cell expansion, especially in plants, cell movements, and apoptosis, programmed cell death. Growth is the fourth one. Growth is the increase in size of the body and its organs by cell division and cell expansion. Growth can occur by an increase in the number of cells or by the enlargement of existing cells. Growth continues throughout the individual's life in some organisms, but reaches a more or less stable endpoint in others. In our activity 2 a while back, we differentiate the 2 types of reproduction in plants and animals. What are these again? Correct! Asexual and sexual reproduction. We know that sexual reproduction involves the fusion of male and female gametes to form a zygote. The fusion of the nuclei of male and female gametes is known as fertilization. While asexual reproduction does not require male fusion of male and female gametes. No fusion of gametes takes place. Instead, parts of a mature organism may develop to new individuals. Why do we need to study reproduction? What is the importance of reproduction in plants and animals? Correct! It's for procreation. Reproduction sustains the species so that it does not become extinct. What else? You got it right! It's for quality improvement. It allows for the mixing of genetic materials, leading to variation among individuals in a species. This is seen in sexual reproduction. The variations form basis of adaptability in their habitats. Reproduction in plants and animals are not the same, aren't they? You heard it right! Now the question is, how about in their development? Is it the same or not? Another correct answer! Plants and animals' development are different from each other. Now, get your pen and paper. Your task is to compare and contrast the development of plants and animals. Are you ready? Yes! What is the first stage of development in plants and animals after fertilization? Correct! After fertilization, zygote is formed. Plants and animals are the same in the first stage of development. A zygote is a single cell that gives rise to all the cells and the organisms that will develop from it. As the zygote divides to form a multicellular embryo, each of the embryo's undifferentiated cells are destined to become part of a particular type of tissue. This is referred to as the cell fate of that undifferentiated cell. Do you think plants and animals are the same on the second stage? Correct! They are different! Since you have your pen and paper, kindly take down notes important information on plants and animals' development. Let's start with the development of the plant. When plants flower, pollen will be carried from the stamens to the stigma of the pistil by wind, insects, or other animals. The pollen makes a tube through the style of the pistil to the egg cell in the ovary. Fertilization takes place and then follows the first division, by which a small apical cell and a large basal cell are formed. The apical cell divides into 4 cells and forms a small ball. The basal cell ligates cells at the top. The apical clump of cells grows and forms a spherical ball. The lower part with the basal cell stops growing and dividing quite soon, that is, stages 4 and 5. This part is called the suspensor. This stage 5 is called the globular stage of the embryo. The apical tissue grows sidewards, that is stage 6. The cotyledons are formed from this. At the same time, the tissue between the cotyledons and the suspensor differentiates into the growing point of the root or apical root meristem, the growing point of the shoot, and the connective vascular tissue, stages 7 and 8. The cotyledons grow and fold out. The seed is formed. The seed grows further and goes into rest. It starts to grow again only when it goes into the ground and the conditions are favorable for germination. One might speak of a double fertilization. First, the pollen fertilizes the egg, then the seed has to fall or to be sown into the earth. What are the following processes visible in plant development? Correct! Right from the first division, the embryo is growing. Immediately, there is cell differentiation. The apical and basal cells are different. The tissue is solid. Now, let's go to animal development. At fertilization, an egg cell and a sperm cell fuse and create a zygote, that is a fertilized egg. After 24 hours, the first division takes place. 2 equally big cells are created, each being half the size of the zygote. After that division occurs approximately every 12 hours. The embryo is and stays spherical and does not grow. The stage of 16 to 64 cells is called a morula, that is equal to mulberry, stage 5. Then the cells that lie inside migrate from the center to the periphery. Some cells die in the middle and there a cavity is formed. This cavity is filled with fluid. The embryo is now called a blastula, that is equal to small button, stage 6, and starts to grow. The cell divisions in the wall of the blastula continue and then some cells bend inwards to make a tube to the inside. This indentation looks as if a finger is pushed inwards. This happens at the spot that is called the blastophore, equals the opening of the vesicle, stage 7 and 8. The embryo is now called a gastrula. Gaster equals stomach. This indentation process continues until the indentation reaches the opposite wall. Then the tissue breaks open. Out of the blastophore, the anus is formed and the new breakthrough forms the mouth. Between these two, a tube is formed that will become the digestive tract. Between the digestive tract and the outer wall or skin, a body cavity is formed in which clump of cells, the mesoderm, are formed out of which the organs will develop. What are the following processes visible in animal development? Correct! In the beginning, there is no growth. In the beginning, there is no cell differentiation. Two different cavities are formed. How about tissues? Correct! Three types of tissue are formed: an outer membrane or outer skin, or ectoderm. Ecto equals outside and derma equals skin, blue. An inner membrane or inner skin, or endoderm, also called endoderm. Ento equals inside, green. And between them, a cavity in which there is in-between tissue or mesoderm. Mesos equals middle, red. These three tissues are called the three germ layers. Later on, all tissues and organs will grow out of them. How about the cavity? Very good! Two cavities came into being. The digestive tract, an external cavity created from the outside, a bit of the outside world in the body, which stays in contact with the world outside through the mouth and the anus, and the body cavity, the cavity between the skin and the digestive tract. This cavity has no connection to the world outside. In this cavity, all organs and the center of the body will develop. What are the differences between plants and animals? The embryonic development of plants and animals is different. Plants show immediate growth. Animals do not at first. The cells of plants differ immediately, whereas this is not the case with animals. Plants are solid and animals have two body cavities. Animals bend inwards and make a body cavity, and plants do not form an inner space. This can also be seen later on. Plants grow on the ends of their twigs, their shoots and roots directed to the surroundings. The growing points are always placed at the ends of twigs, stems, and roots in the periphery. Processes takes place on the outside. Growth rate and size are largely determined by the environment. A plant on poor sandy soil grows less well than a plant on nutrient-rich clay. Plants are in the environment. Animals grow to a certain somewhat variable size and then stop growing. They are not influenced by the environment as much as plants. Plants are fixed in the earth. Animals can move. Plants do not have an inner cavity nor a center. Animals do. The heart. Animals have developed an interior space in which processes takes place, and they have an inner life. Can you give some additional information on the development of plants and animals? Correct! The plant grows up and down from a point, the meristem. The taxa are the following. Kingdom. This is the highest taxon in Linnaean points, and then into the periphery, the air and the soil. The animal grows inwards. In anthroposophy, the inner life of animals is linked to the inner space of the body cavity. The cavity is the basis for the astral body, the non-physical body in which the soul capacities observing and thinking, feeling and willing and doing take place. Plants do not have a soul nor body cavities. Plants and animals both have an ether, or vital body. Plants can grow freely. Animals cannot, because they are oriented on their center, as shown by the gastrula. My dear students, I'm so proud of you for attentively listening and participating on our topic. You've already known the similarities and differences of animals and plants' reproduction and development. Moving on, Can you now briefly tell to us the comparison of plants and animals' reproduction and development? Correct! Plants and animals develop and has the ability to reproduce. They have the same first stage of development, which a zygote is formed after fertilization. What else? Correct! Plants and animals' development differ in terms of reproduction. Now, you learned a lot and able to compare and contrast. Now, kindly prepare yourself for a short quiz after this infomercial.
Mare, narinig mo na ba ang tungkol sa online distance learning ng DepEd? Ano ba ito? Ay oo, Mare! Ang online distance learning ay isang pamamaraan kung saan maihahatid ng mga guro ang kaalaman para sa mga anak natin sa tulong ng teknolohiya gaya ng internet, laptop, computer, at cellphone. Ganun ba, Mare? Oo, Mare. Hindi magkakasama at magkakaharap ang mga estudyante at mga guro. Maaaring matuto ang mga bata sa pamamagitan ng online na pagkatuto. Isang mensahe mula sa kagawaran ng edukasyon at ng himpilang ito.
Please bring out your pen and paper as we begin our quiz. We have true or false, 5 items. Please keep your answer sheet and we will check that on our next episode. True or false? Write T if the statement is true and write F if it is false. Number 1. Determination sets the developmental fate of a cell. Number 2. Differentiation is the process by which different types of cells arise from less specialized cells, leading to cells with specific structures and functions. Number 3. Morphogenesis is the organization and spatial distribution of differentiated cells into the multicellular body and its organs. Number 4. Growth is the increase in size of the body. Number 5. Reproduction in plants and animals are the same. That ends our quiz for today. Maybe you want more, but we'll have that next meeting. Please keep your notes for further learning and your answer key. Next meeting, bring them and we'll check. On behalf of our scriptwriter, teacher Mayflower G. Agustin, and the whole SDO Isabela RBI production team, I would like to extend my gratefulness to you for listening in today's discussion. This has been your radio teacher, Catherine Joyce Lactao Cristobal, saying goodbye and keep safe.
Patuloy ang edukasyon para sa ating henerasyon.
Sa daan ng pagkatuto ay walang may iwan.
Kaya halina sa Radyo Eskwela!